I know. What do you keep your house at?
70.
74.
Should be 70.
I keep mine at 70. Like my grandmother's house. You walk to my grandmother's house, it's like 80 degrees. Okay, here we go. Number 1, we've got x squared times x to the 6th. And we get what?
Wait, where are you?
X to the 8th.
That's last night's homework, all right? Wasn't this last night's homework?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember that.
Oh.
It is called the 8th
Hold
power.
up, let me see that.
Huh?
Or is it called the 8th power? Would you call it
The 8th, I'm sorry. I thought you said problem. Yes, the power of 8 or the 8th power. Yes. So we say x to the 8th. So I noticed yesterday a lot of you were saying, like when you were reading this, you're like x8 or 8x, right? It's x to the 8th, right? x8 is this, and they're very different, right? X to the 8th. Okay. So this one, what's this equal?
64.
B to the 4th. 64.
4.
Huh?
No.
Were you reading the B as a 6?
Yeah.
Okay. And we got a to the 2nd, n to the 6th over a n to the 5th. Now this one we need to separate it.
Yeah, 8, 1, and 1 divided by 1.
So we get a first and then n to the 1st. So we can just do an.
I put over 1.
It's okay. It's not wrong. That's okay.
I guess you could put it, yeah.
It's not necessary, but you don't have. But it's not wrong if you do. Okay, so here we have y to the 5th over y squared times z to the 7th over z to the 5th. So let's say y to the 5th over y squared. That's y to the 3rd over 1. And here we're going to have z to the 2nd over 1. So we get y to the 3rd, z to the 2nd.
And you can always put it over 1 to say.
Yes, you can always put it over 1 if you're not sure. Yep. Okay. All right, the one we had on the quiz, 7x to the 3rd, y to the negative 5th, 4x, y to the 3rd. So if we put everything together, that's like terms. Now, I don't think I saw anyone actually do this on their quiz, which is a shame because some of you did not get it correct on the quiz. Okay? Don't do it in your head if you're not getting them correct, okay? So here we have 7 times 4 is 28. X to the 3rd times x. Remember, this is an assumed 1, so that becomes x to the 4th. And then we get y, negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. So that's not complete because we can't have that negative exponent. So we move the negative down to the bottom. And that's the correct answer. Okay. If you left it like this, I gave you a 90. Okay. If you switched them, somebody had, I think, y to the 2nd over 28, x to the 4th, I gave you an 80. And it got lower and lower from there. Okay, number 6, negative 3 b to the 3rd times c times 7 b squared c squared. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to put our like terms together. Negative 3 times 7, b to the 3rd times b squared, c times c squared. Right, so that gives us negative 21, b to the 5th, c to the what? 3rd. Good. There you go. Okay. You feeling comfortable with this so far?
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
Okay. Good. All right, next one, number 7. We've got -5, x to the third, y to the third, z to the fourth over 20, x to the third, y to the seventh, z to the fourth. Okay, we're going to separate them. Separate them, work with them, and then bring them back together again. Okay, so -5 over 20, what's that equal? -1 over 4, good. Okay, now we have x to the third over x to the third, so that's just going to be a 1. Right, and then y to the third over y to the seventh. So we've got 3 y's on top and 7 on the bottom. So that means I'm going to be left with 4 on the bottom. And then the z's cancel out, that just becomes a 1. So going straight across the top, we have -1 straight across the bottom, 4y to the fourth. Okay. Number 8. Let's see, 3, a to the fifth, b to the third, c to the third over 9, a to the third, b to the seventh, c. Okay, let's separate them again. 3 over 9, a to the fifth over a to the third, b to the third over b to the seventh, c to the third over c. Okay. 3 over 9, that gives us 1 over 3. And we've got a to the fifth over a to the third. What's that going to give us? A to the second on top, right? And that's going to be over 1. And then the b's, I have more b's on the bottom, so I'm going to get 1 over b to the fourth on the bottom, right? And then the c's, there's more on top, so we get c to the second. Okay. All right, going straight across the top, a to the second, c to the second, over 3b to the fourth.
When I did it, I put the 1 on top as well.
That's fine. It's always okay to put the 1 there.
So it doesn't matter.
Right.
But does it matter? And this is just a general. Does it make sense to put, like, I know one of the problems with like 2 1s.
So to put like 1a squared, 1c squared, it doesn't really make sense to do that now. Because, like, let's say that these were 4s, right?
Yeah.
You would multiply the 2 4s together and get 16.
Yeah, I did put just 1 more, but I was just wondering.
Right. Right, because you multiply them together, and 1 times 1 is 1. So we would only put the number there once. Yes.
Like, what if you had, like, put it like 3A, 2B, 4, and then C, 2?
Woo! Say that again.
Like 3,
A squared,
yeah, and then B, 4.
b to the fourth.
And then C to the second.
Okay, so the problem here, okay, I'm so glad you're asking questions. That's very good. Okay, the problem here, if you look at this right here, right, I have 3 b's on the top and 7 on the bottom. So I'm not going to be left with 4 on the top. The b's that are left are on the bottom. So they have to be down here. If you leave it up there, that means that there were more b's on the top. So we have to be careful about that, right? So we have 4 on the bottom, and when we draw our line straight across, those b's are on the bottom, right? And then also the 3 is on the bottom. So did you do this in between step here, or did you just kind of do it in your head?
Right.
Yeah. So, and it gets harder, the more complicated the problems get, it gets harder to keep track of it in your head, like where the numbers are. And then that's very common. Like you can come up with the fact that there's a b to the fourth in there. But the more complicated the problem gets, the harder it is to see where the b is. Okay? So take the time to write the in-between steps. Okay, let's see. The next one, this was probably the hardest, one of the hardest ones. The last two were hard. 2c to the third d times 3c squared d to the fifth over 30c to the fourth d squared. Okay, so looking at this one, I want to kind of clean up the top before I really start doing anything, okay? So I need to combine what's up top. I have 2 times 3, which gives me the 6. I have c to the third times c squared. What's that give me? C to the fifth. Then I have d times d to the fifth, which gives me d to the sixth. Okay? So cleaning up the top first. Now we're ready to separate these. Okay? I know it's extra writing and it's tedious, but separating them will help you to keep track of where all the variables are. Okay? So we know that 6 over 30, that's 1 over 5. Now I have 5 C's on the top and 4 C's on the bottom. That's going to leave me with 1 C on the top. Okay. And then we have 6 D's on top and 2 on the bottom. That leaves me with 4 of them on top. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and go straight across. So now I have 1 C to the first, D to the fourth, over 5. We do not have to include that 1 or this one. Okay? We good? No? Who has a question?
I mean, I got the answer, but I couldn't find it. Not like that.
You got that answer, but you didn't do it like this. Okay, that's fine.
Like I put 1/5, and then I put C, and then I put D.
That's right.
Like this? That's perfectly fine. Did you show your work leading to that answer? Okay. Absolutely. Okay, we have negative 12 m to the 4 n to the 8 times m to the third n to the second over 36 m to the third n. What should we do? What should we do, Anya?
Separate it all.
Not yet.
Do you add no, you don't add up, subtract them?
Not yet.
No, the 12 over 36.
Not yet.
I don't know, what are we
Grady?
Don't you like add the 9 and the 2, or the 9 eighths and 9 seconds?
I don't see a
Or no,
9.
N.
I did it.
I'm high. Like N eighth and N.
N to the power of 8, not N8, because this is N8. Right?
And N to the power of 2.
Okay, so we're going to clean up what's on top first, right?
Yeah.
Clean up what's up top first. Negative 12 m. We're going to add the 4 and the 3. So m to the 7th times n. We're going to add the 8 and the 2, so to the 10th. Over 36 m to the third n. Now we'll go ahead and separate them. So we have negative 12 over 36 times m to the 7th over m to the third times n to the 10 over n. Negative 12 over 36, that leaves me with negative 1 over 3. Okay, what happens with the m's? M to the 4th, and then n to the 9th. And you can leave your answer like that, or you could put it all over 3 like that. That's fine. Okay? Questions? Questions, questions.
That is a good word. We don't say that.
Okay.
Shut up.
Okay, let's look at some different problems, different types of problems. I just had my pen in my hand. What do I do with it?
Such an instigator.
Children, stop. Huh?
Child.
At this moment? No. Okay, so let's say that we have 3x squared y.
Are these exponents again?
Yes, we're still doing exponents. Yep. Okay, so you want to copy down these examples to the second. Okay. Okay. So if something's risen to the second power, what does that mean? We do what? Multiplied by itself, right. So this is 3x squared y times 3x squared y. Do you know how to do that?
Yes.
What's that equal?
Something.
Equals something, yes. Good job, yes. It equals 9x to the 4, y to the power of 2, right? Everybody got that? Okay, here's the shortcut. We take this exponent and we distribute it. So, first off, what's the exponent that the 3 has? 1. What exponent does the y have? 1. Okay, so we're going to distribute this exponent. So this becomes 3 to the second. 1 times 2 is 2. X, we do 2 times 2, which is 4. And then y, 2 times 1 is 2. So all we have to do is the 3 to the second, which is 9. And there's our answer. Okay, here's another example. Please copy these examples down. Let's do 2, a to the third, b to the fourth, c to the fifth, all to the third power. Of course you can. Okay, so distribute the exponent because we don't want to write that out 3 times, right? We don't want to do 2a to the third, b to the fourth, c to the fifth times itself 3 times. That's a pain in the neck. Okay, Caden, what did you do? What did you do, Caden? Distribute the 3. So what did you get?
8 to the 5.
Okay, so we had 2 to the third, right? A to the 9, B to the 12, C to the 15. Ronnie, how did we get those numbers? We took the 3 and we distributed it. We multiplied it times the exponents. So this has an assumed 1. So 1 times 3 is 3. And then we did 3 times 3, which is 9. And then we did 3 times 4, which gave us 12. And then 3 times 5 is 15. Okay, the only thing we have left to do is figure out what that 2 to the third is. And 2 to the third is 8. Okay. Okay. So when we multiply, what do we do with the exponents? We add them. When we divide, what do we do with the exponents? Subtract. When we have an exponent outside the parenthesis, we multiply. Okay, let's see if I can. Yes, it is. Okay, when we have an exponent outside the parenthesis, we multiply. So let's say that again. When we multiply, what do we do with the exponents? We add them. When we divide, what do we do with the exponents? We subtract. When we have an exponent outside the parenthesis, we multiply. Okay? So let's look at another one. Let's look at 7, a to the fourth, b to the fifth, over 21, a to the second, b to the fourth, to the fifth power. Okay? Now there are two approaches to this. We could distribute or multiply by that 5, right? Multiply all the exponents by the 5. Or we could simplify what's inside the parenthesis first and then multiply by the 5. That's what I prefer to do because it'll be smaller numbers, okay? So let's work with what's inside the parenthesis first. Okay, how are we going to simplify that? How about the 7 over 21? What's that going to give me? That's going to give me a 1/3, right? Now I have a to the fourth over a to the second. What's that going to give me? A to the second, and it stays on top, right? How about b to the fifth over b to the fourth? B to the first. And then we have the 5 outside. Okay. Okay. We're distributing the exponent. What's the exponent of this 1? 1. What's the exponent of the 3? 1. Okay. Okay. Now let's go and let's multiply by the 5. I'll give you just a few seconds to do that. Multiply your exponents times the 5. Okay, so I get 1 to the 5th. What's 1 to the 5th? 1.
Oh, sorry.
200.
Right. What's a to the second? We're going to multiply times 5. What do we get? A to the 10. Does everyone understand how we got that 10? How about the b? What do we get? B to the 5th. And that's going to be over 3 to the 5th. Now you can use your calculator, but 3 to the 5th is 243. And there's your answer. Okay. You can use your calculator. Yes, Carolyn.
What happened to the multiply the 1 by
1 to any power is just 1. Okay.
So wouldn't it still be 5?
Well, it's going to be 1 to the 5th, which is 1.
Oh,
Okay.
Wait, how do we get 243?
3 to the 5th power is 200. Is 243, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. Okay. Okay, I have a worksheet for you to try.
Bless you.
This is your homework. We'll go over this before the quiz. And when is our quiz? Our quiz is tomorrow. Yes. Okay. Actually,
We're only gonna.
we're going to try and go over this worksheet today. So it's only 4 problems. You're going to do the worksheet, upload it to Google Classroom, and then we'll go over it. Okay? What am I doing here? 2. I want to go over this so that we can cover it before the quiz, right? Remember, we're going to simplify inside first. Okay? Simplifying inside first. So I have 8 over 16. I have a to the third over a to the second. And then we have b to the second over b to the third. And this is all to the 4th power. Okay? Everybody understand that part? We're working with what's inside first. Okay, what happens to the 8 over 16? Becomes 1/2. Now I've got a to the third over a squared. What happens there? Becomes a on top, right? So I'm going to put that over 1. How about the b squared over b to the third? Right, 1 over b. Okay, we good so far? Okay, so what do we have inside? We've got a on top, and we've got 2b on the bottom. So I haven't done anything new yet. This is what we did yesterday and you did for homework, right? We've simplified everything inside the parentheses. Now we're ready to distribute that 4. What's this exponent for the a? 1. These all have an exponent of 1. So now I'm going to multiply the 4. So it becomes a to the 4th, 1 times 4 is 4, over 2 to the 4th, times b to the 4th. The only thing left to do now using your calculator is figure out what 2 to the 4th is, and that is 16. So there's your answer. Okay. We simplified it just like we did yesterday and we did for homework. The last thing we did was we took this 4 and we distributed it and we multiplied all the exponents times 4. Okay? Because this 4 means to multiply it times itself 4 times. So if I have a times a times a times a, what is that? That's a to the 4th. Okay? All right. Let's look at the next one. I can get rid of this mess here. Okay, so the next one, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to simplify inside. So we have 6 over 3. We have x to the second over x to the 4th. And we have y to the 4th over y to the 3rd. Okay, so we're just working inside. So this becomes, let's say 6 over 3, that's 2. X squared over x to the 4th, what happens to that?
1 over x2.
1 over x squared. Good. There's 2 x's left on the bottom. And then we have y to the 4th over y to the 3rd, which is going to leave me with y to the 1st on top. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to go straight across. We're left with 2 times 1 is 2, so 2y to the 1st over x squared to the 3rd power. Don't try to do too much in your head. Just write it out. If you write it out in the steps, it makes perfect sense. Okay, what are we going to do with that 3? We're going to distribute it. So what happens with the 2? It's not 2 times 3, right? It's 2 to the 3rd because this 2 has an exponent of 1. It's the exponents that we're multiplying. So this is 2 to the 3rd, y to the 3rd, over x to the 6. 2 to the 3rd is 8. 8y to the 3rd over x to the 6. Okay, question so far? Okay. Next one is a weird one. We don't have an exponent outside the parentheses. So let's separate these. 30 over 60 times a to the negative 2nd over a to the negative 6 times b to the negative 6 over b to the negative 8. Okay. 30 over 60, that's 1/2. What do we do with those negative exponents? Do you remember? Yeah, we move them. This a to the negative 6, that's going to move up top and become a to the positive 6. This a to the negative 2nd, it's moving down the bottom because it's negative. So it becomes a to the positive 2nd on the bottom. Okay. And then we have to move this one. Where's this b to the negative 8 go? Up top. So that's okay. You could do it differently. Yep. This becomes b to the 8 up top. And what happens with this negative 6? It moves down. If it's a negative exponent, we move it.
Because you're still gonna have to.
Yep. Oops, it's positive. Yeah, that's okay. There's other ways of doing it. I just don't want to confuse everybody with multiple ways, okay? Okay, so we have 1/2 times. Now I have 6 a's on the top and 2 on the bottom. What happens with that? We're left with 4 on the top, a to the 4th on top, times. I've got 8 b's on the top and 6 on the bottom. What are we left with? 2 on the top. Right, go straight across. So on top I have a to the 4th b squared over 2. Or if you want to leave it as 1/2 a to the 4th b squared, that's okay. How are we doing? I'm looking out and I've got some faces that are like, okay, let's move on. And I've got some that are like straining to kind of figure it out. And I've got some that look like this is insane. So I'm feeling like you have some questions. So here's your opportunity. Give me a fist to 5. Fist to 5. Well, good. Clearly, I'm misreading your faces. Okay, all right. Let's do number 4 and see if we can continue to build on that confidence. Okay, so we're going to work with what's inside first. But when I look inside, I can't do anything. Right? There's nothing to simplify inside. So if there's nothing to simplify inside, what do we do next? Distribute it, yes. Okay, so what happens with the 5? becomes 5 to the third power. How about the A? A to the 21st, good. Over, and the 2 is 2 to the third. And then we have B to the 15th and C to the third. Okay. The only thing left is to actually figure out what 5 to the third and 2 to the third is. Well, 5 to the third is 125. A to the 21 over 2 to the third is 8. B to the 15, C to the third, and we're done. Okay. Okay. Please upload the completed worksheet to Google Classroom so that you can get credit for it. Okay. We have a quiz tomorrow, a regular quiz on everything we did yesterday and today. Okay. If you're not understanding after school, I'll be here till at least 3:30. Okay. Tomorrow is Thursday, so we have all of our classes, so you won't have time to really ask me questions tomorrow. Okay. Question? Yes. Need a pass though. Yes.